Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson embracing his role as a leader. No doubt having one of the league's top pass catchers on your side is a big boost for quarterback J.J. McCarthy as he goes into his second year and coming off of a torn meniscus. But the duo still laid a pretty solid foundation. Here's Jefferson on continuing to build chemistry with his QB.
Him being here last year, I got to know him a lot last year, but, of course, him being my quarterback this year, being able to talk to him more, just pick his brain a little bit more, see what he likes, what he doesn't like, how he throws the ball, all of that is a big factor into a quarterback. So just trying to learn every bit that I can, even off the field, just trying to, chop it up and make sure, we're well connected.
All right, right now we've got Bryant, McFadden, and John Breech, our NFL analysts, joining us. And B-Mac, I'll start with you. I know you've dealt with injuries and surgeries over the course of your NFL career. What's your confidence in J.J. McCarthy as he pretty much gets a do-over for his rookie campaign while also coming back from that torn meniscus?
Well, Tiffany, I have an abundance of confidence in J.J. McCarthy. It's not just solely about his individual skill set, but it's about his coach, the guy who will be in his ear, the guy who will be able to help mentor him throughout every week in this NFL season, in Kevin OConnell. I trust Kevin OConnell's quarterback coaching. I trust his ability to call plays because he's shown he has that it factor to be able to get the most out of whoever the quarterback is. And remember, they invested a first-round selection in J.J. McCarthy. So clearly there was something that Kevin OConnell saw from J.J. throughout his time there in Ann Arbor that made him feel like, you know what, let's trade up, do whatever we need to do to be able to be in a position to land J.J. McCarthy. And unfortunately for J.J. McCarthy, he sustained that injury that led to him missing his entire rookie campaign, but now having a full offseason regimen to be dialed in with the players, not to mention the tutelage and the mentorship that he's receiving from his head coach. I think he will be set up nicely to have a really, really good rookie year, even though this will be year 2.
B-Mac, let me just say I'm glad you brought up Kevin OConnell, because let's rewind to last year. If you would have asked me this question about Sam Darnold, my confidence level in him going into 2024 was between 1 and 2. And that obviously turned out to be way wrong because the Vikings ended up being good. Darnold had a career year, and it was all because of Kevin OConnell. He is the one who put Darnold in a system where he can absolutely thrive. The Vikings have plenty of playmakers who can help their quarterback, and I expect him to do the same thing with J.J. McCarthy. If you want a head coach who can develop the quarterback, Kevin OConnell is your guy. And let's not forget, the Vikings could have kept Darnold. They could have made a play for him. They could have gone out and signed Aaron Rodgers. They flirted with him a little bit during the offseason. But OConnell, the Vikings front office, all thought that J.J. McCarthy, starting him this year, is what's best for the franchise and what's best for them going forward. So when you think about that and what Kevin OConnell knows about the quarterback position and the fact that he thinks J.J. McCarthy is the guy that gives him the best chance to win, I think my confidence level in McCarthy is about an 8 now. So I think J.J. McCarthy can have a huge year, and I think Kevin OConnell will absolutely be a huge part of that.
Yeah, KOC will give you that confidence, and you kind of led me into my next question. When you look at the team as a whole, there's always some departures when you go into a new season. So the Vikings without Sam Darnold and safety Cam Binham. But B-Mac, how do you weigh the loss of Darnold when they've got McCarthy?
Well, you know what? Losing Sam Darnold clearly it could be a significant blow because of how well he played a year ago. But to John's point, I mean, I trust Kevin OConnell. And remember, J.J. McCarthy was in position to be the guy a year ago, but because of the injury, that led to a layup of an opportunity for Sam Darnold, and he cashed in big time. So I think the more significant question is, when you lose Sam Darnold, you lose depth at the quarterback position. And as we see throughout the NFL, especially over the last few years, the backup quarterback is just as important as the starting quarterback when you're looking at quarterbacks sustaining injury. So I think there lies the bigger concern, the lack of depth behind J.J. McCarthy. But moving on from Sam Darnold, especially the price point that he was commanding via free agency, it didn't make any sense for Minnesota to try to invest that type of finances into him. Let's go ahead and devote all the attention into the next up guy, who is J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, when you have a guy on a rookie contract, it makes sense to go with him if you trust him. But look, there is no doubt this is a huge gamble by the Minnesota Vikings because you have Darnold. He led you to a 14-3 record last season, one of the best regular seasons in franchise history. He was the sure thing. You know he knows your offense. You could have another successful season with him in 2025, but you let him walk. So the Vikings are putting all their eggs in the J.J. McCarthy basket here because if they go out and they only win 6 or 7 games, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if the wheels kind of fall off the wagon, McCarthy isn't great. Now your front office is being questioned. Kevin O'Connell's being questioned. And you're saying, why did this team move on from a quarterback who won 14 games? And that could be compounded by the fact if Sam Darnold goes to Seattle, wins 11 or 12 games, and makes the playoffs with the Seahawks. And let's not forget, these two teams, the Seahawks and Vikings, play each other in 2025. If Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, they beat Minnesota, the Vikings miss the playoffs by 1 game, that would just be another slap in the face. So there is definitely a lot of pressure on McCarthy to succeed, but as B-Mac and I both said, Kevin O'Connell seems like the guy who can kind of hold McCarthy's hand through that.
Yeah, don't speak that over Skull Nation, John. We can't have that on this show. They'll come for us. I do want to go back to Cam Binham and B-Mac. Why is his loss going to impact this team?
You know what? I think losing Cam Binham is more significant than losing Sam Darnold, and here's why. You look at the safety relationship that he had with Harrison Smith. He was able to allow Harrison Smith to do so much, showcase his versatility, because oftentimes we saw Harrison Smith in the second level or even at the first level on the line of scrimmage being able to blitz and just be able to add to the aggressive style that Brian Flores has implemented there. And no one was concerned with anything because they had the ultimate traffic cop in the back end in Cam Binham. A 3-year starter, he's shown the ability to create turnovers. He's shown the ability to make sure that he's communicating the transparency is where it needs to be in the secondary, and they didn't miss a beat. Now you remove him from that secondary. I think that's a loss because the safety position is like the quarterback of the secondary. He is the guy that echoes everything throughout the secondary. He is the guy we look to when we're playing cornerback to understand, okay, what's the call to kind of give us that voters' approval? Yes, you guys are in the right situation, utilizing the right leverage. Not to mention, he's a great tackler as well. So when you look at the chemistry they had over the last 3 years with Cam Binham, not having him in the fold could be present some hurdles to start the season off, especially when you look at the quality teams they will see on the offensive end.
All right, did some subtraction, so now let's go to the addition portion now. So the Vikings added Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. B-Mac, do you put those guys in the biggest offseason addition category?
No question. You're talking about 2 dominant defensive line guys that have an abundance of experience. One thing we can say about B-Flow a year ago, their defense really surprised a lot of naysayers with how well they played and how aggressive they were. But get this. They got marginal production from the defensive line. Now implement Jonathan Allen, who's highly motivated. Now implement Javon Hargrave, who was injured more than healthy in San Francisco. You better believe we will see outstanding sack numbers. Don't forget, in 2022, Javon Hargrave had a double-digit sack season with the Philadelphia Eagles. So we saw great production from Van Ginkel a year ago and Grenard, both guys having double-digit sack seasons. With marginal production from the defensive line, you go ahead and throw 2 guys that have been known to play at a high level in Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. Look out. This could be a very, very fun, entertaining season for defensive coordinator and Brian Flores, knowing that he has 2 individuals they've added to their defense that can win their one-on-one matchup at any given time.
Yeah, the Vikings did a lot this offseason to improve themselves in the trenches. B-Mac just mentioned the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to look at what they did on the offensive side of the ball. Let's start with Christian Darrisaw. No, they didn't sign him. He's been on the team for a while, but they are getting him back. He missed the final 10 games of last season due to that torn ACL. Well, now you're getting your stud left tackle back. That is somebody you absolutely want to have in the lineup when you're starting a quarterback who has never played an NFL snap. And then look at the rest of the offensive line. The Vikings went out and made what could potentially be some home run moves. They raided the Colts offensive line by getting Ryan Kelly at center, Will Fries, and then they went into the NFL draft and used a first-round pick on Donovan Jackson. So now you've got your left tackle, your 2 starting guards, and your center. So your offensive line is going to have a whole new look. They really should be upgraded. The Vikings could have one of the top 10, maybe even the top 5 offensive lines in football due to all the moves they've made this offseason. So that's another reason to have some faith in J.J. McCarthy, because this offensive line is looking a lot better on paper.
Yeah, that's a big help, a big boost there. On to the schedule prediction portion, guys. You're not fully on the same page. John, you have the Vikings at 8-9 this season. BMAC, this is the team that hits the international circuit early in week 4 and 5. Why do you have them at 10-7?
Because they have a great coach. They have a really, really good coach in Kevin O'Connell. He's shown the ability throughout his 3-year tenure there in Minnesota to do more with less. So I see them winning double-digit games. The issue with them in the 1 year he didn't have double-digit wins, was the 1 year he didn't have his preferred quarterback to work with, right? And they were competitive, but they lost some real close ball games. Now, when you look at him having J.J. McCarthy, I understand we talk about the lack of experience, but he is his preferred quarterback. I think Kevin O'Connell, once again, will make sweet tea with no sugar. He's shown the ability to do that. And that tea tastes so good for all of Skull Nation fans when you watch what he's been able to do, not to mention the defense will be much improved. Remember, they won 14 games with Sam Darnold. And John, I know you echo everything about Sam Darnold, about why he let him walk and why they did this, why they did that. Sam Darnold was just moving from team to team before he got with who? Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell is known to be the quarterback whisperer. He's done a phenomenal job. And I understand that the NFC North could be one of the more difficult divisions in the National Football League. But I trust Kevin O'Connell, and I believe J.J. McCarthy, if he is healthy, will open a lot of eyes throughout this year. So I got him winning 10 games, 10-7, playoff caliber team. Skull Nation, oh, oh. Let's go.
Skull Nation, yeah, they need to get out and buy a BMAC jersey. You are all over that, Bryant. But look, hey, we only have a 2-game difference in our prediction, but it is the difference between a successful season and a losing season, because BMAC has them going 10-7. I have them going 8-9, and here is my issue with the Vikings. As I've said, I agree with BMAC. I absolutely trust Kevin O'Connell. I think he is a great, great coach. But their schedule is absolutely brutal. When you're going into the season with a brutal schedule and you've had a quarterback who's never taken a regular season snap, that's not a great combination. Vikings have 11 games this year against teams that finished over 500 last season. That's the second most in the NFL. So that's a lot. And it's not just that the NFC North is going to be tough. So that's 6 tough games right there. Well, they also play the AFC North. That's another 3 teams that finished above 500. The Steelers, no matter who their quarterback is, are going to be decent. The Ravens are going to be a playoff Super Bowl contender. The Bengals, another possible Super Bowl contender. And then, of course, the Browns. And then they also play the NFC East. So you're stuck playing the reigning Super Bowl champs in the Eagles. You face the Commanders. The Cowboys could be a good team. And the Giants. So it is a very, very difficult schedule. And Kevin O'Connell might be able to will this team to 10 wins, like BMAC is saying. But for right now, until I see some action in training camp, I'm going to stick with 8-9.
Well, we're going to have to bring you guys back at the end of the season. You guys can maybe talk it out and see how this all plays out. We appreciate you joining us, John and BMAC. Thanks. All right, let's look at the sports line projections. They have the Vikings getting 9 wins with a 21% chance to win the NFC North.